we're on now.
Beautiful.
So.
Hello, everybody who's listening. Thanks. It's 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. You should be out singing Sweet Caroline whilst drinking. But you're here, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. You said it for me. So should we start with just a little background on the Hampshire Lions?
Yes, we are a official Aston Villa Lions group. There are, let me get the number right, 111 globally. There's a link on the Villa website. You can look at all the Lions clubs, and the sort of ethos about Lions clubs is that more remote areas. I mean, theoretically, in the thick of it in Birmingham, you possibly don't need a Lions club because you've got the access to the stadium, you've got the club on the doorstep. But for places that are not too close to Birmingham, I mean, I'm from the Midlands originally. You can probably tell from my accent. It's nice to get together and have people either travel to games together or have events, and just to get round and speak about Villa and socialise. I mean, we all know what a roller coaster it is being a Villa fan. It's not always pleasant. We've had some highs and lows in recent years, and sharing that with other people is a sort of commonality. And one thing I get from our group down here as well, it's amazing how many Brummies there are in Hampshire. The reasons I'm in Hampshire, I'm in the military, so I moved down here 20 years ago. I want to join the Navy, and I'm kind of behind enemy lines in Hampshire. But we've got groups in Cornwall, we've got Scottish ones, we've got New York, we've got Chicago, Australia, Malaysia, Iraq. There's so many countries on there, and like sort of Villa fans that are all around the world and sort of disbanded in different places. It's brilliant. So Lions clubs kind of get everyone together, whether it's in a social media sort of environment or aspect, or in a room for an evening, or to watch away games or home games on TV when we can't attend. So that's really what a Lions club is. And when we're Hampshire and we serve the whole of Hampshire, quite a big county. We look for members as I say, we trawl through the internet. We put in, the whole social media sort of campaigns out and about, and we're basically, we started off in November last year. So we've got, I think, about 120 odd members, and then we've got active members that travel to games, and we've got people that not everyone can go to games. I mean, I as I say, I've been in the military 20 years. There's been a good 10, 15 years when I couldn't get a season ticket because it was absolutely pointless. If you're going away for 9 months of a year, you can't go to Villa Park for the middle of a warship in the middle of nowhere. So my recent sort of commitment to Villa has come from me being shore-based, so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's why I can now delve into this and get back into my sort of roots, because before I joined the military, I was a season ticket holder, and I live locally. So now I'm in the position where I'm really enjoying it. Love the social side of this. Love meeting new people. Lots of neighbouring Lions groups. We've got Bournemouth, Dorset, London, Somerset. There's you look on the Villa website, you'll see there's lots of them. It's almost like a brotherhood, but a kind of distant brotherhood, because we don't live in Birmingham. But it is amazing where you'll find Brummies. I was in New York City for my birthday recently, and went to the Legends Bar. So if you're ever in New York for whatever reason, go to the bar there. There's a big shrine to Aston Villa, and they've got the New York Lions. Lovely bunch of people. And you walk in there and you kind of expect, hey man, how you doing? You support Aston Villa? And you get there, it's like, all right, mate, how you doing? It's like a distant Brummie, and it's quite it's quite endearing, really, when you think, my God, we're 3,000 miles from home and we're watching Villa together with a bunch of Brummies. It's brilliant. So that's kind of what Lions Group's all about, really. Getting people together that aren't necessarily at the coalface in Birmingham or in the Midlands. So there you go.
Thank you. That was good. So with regards to traveling,
yes.
Like when you go to games, do you normally have like a bus or a coach?
It's always down to demand, and there are local groups that people travel up in, and it'd be ideal to sort of run a coach and to every home game, but the way transport works, and modern life is quite expensive, as we all know. It's all down to demand. What you can't do is you can't run transport at a loss and sort of pay £2,000 for the most luxury coach in the world and have 3 people sat on it. It's like any sort of business, you go bankrupt pretty quickly. So we base things on demand, and sometimes it can be a minibus, other times it can be a bit of car sharing. But even if it's car sharing, at least we're all together and we sit and talk about things and we socialise. And just obviously sometimes it can be an absolute whinge fest about Villa. Because as we all know, it's life on the Aston Villa roller coaster. It's not always pleasurable. For example, I got home at 2 o'clock this morning from Villa Park after last night's game. Nothing major, just major roadworks on the A34 and then M42, and it added another hour and a half to our journey. So got in quite early, went to work again quite early, and my voice is a bit hoarse from singing on the upper Holt end. But sometimes the travel's brilliant. Sometimes the travel can be an absolute pain in the backside, like anything. But I do think the commitment is brilliant. We have people that it's a 300-mile round trip. We're certainly not the longest journey. We've got the Cornish Lions. I sit next to the some members of the chair of the Cornwall Lions. Sorry, let me get that right. Cornwall Lions. Chap called Dave Wicks, a good friend of mine, and I'm getting up at 9 o'clock and getting to Villa Park at about 1 o'clock on a Saturday. They're getting up at 5:30 and then have like a best part of 10 hours driving. But sometimes it can be longer with traffic, and it's a long day for some people. Then you factor in the Scottish Lions, then you've got the Irish Lions, and people come from around the world, believe it or not, and that's a great thing. About Villa, you forget. I say you forget. We know how big we are and how big we were, but the Lions clubs kind of hammer it home, where you realise how far reach we are. I think recently at Villa Park there was God, what was it? I think the Swedish Lions actually. I met the Swedish chair at one of the meetings. Lovely chap. There was 80 Swedes that came over from Sweden for a match, and that's just mind blowing. 80 people have had the coordination to get on a plane. And get to Birmingham and watch Villa. And do you know what? I don't think we won that game either. I can't remember which game it was. You'll have to trawl through all the Instas and stuff. But they probably had a great time there. But that's mad that 80 people thought, right, we're going to go to Villa Park and watch a match and go back home. So the commitment is amazing, and it's not just about coaches. It's about, it can involve planes and ships and all sorts. Isle of Wight Lions on our doorstep. They're good friends of ours. Jay White is the chairman there. And they have to go to sea to get here, So we've got planes, trains, and ships that get people to Villa Park, believe it or not.
Yeah, we've had Jay White was a special guest on here.
He's a lovely man. He won't thank for this, but he's got the whitest teeth in the world. He's got beautiful teeth.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, and his dad was a journalist.
Yes. So his dad.
I believe.
So his dad is a bit of a plug here for you. His dad, Peter White, and I call him nearly Peter Withe because it's nearly Peter Withe. His dad, lovely chap, and he wrote or co-wrote Brian Little's book, his most recent book, My Aston Villa, and they came down to a book launch with us last year. Lovely people, and I mean Brian Little. I'm not sure if anyone's met him. Absolute salt of the earth, and when he came down to his book launch, I'd actually been, I think, Chelsea away the night before or a couple of nights before, and I think we got pumped in, but I think penalties. That was the penalties. The cup game. We got done by penalties. Where I think Jed Steer was just diving far too early. That's how I remember it. I might be wrong. I've played in goal before, but it seemed like he was committing really early. Anyway, and I'm on the one of the tube stations, and as ever, London. One of the lines was down, or there's a delay, and loads of Villa fans getting back on the tube, and I stood there, and this is probably in the final throes of lockdown, where we weren't locked down, but we're still wearing masks in on TFL in London. So I'm stood down, I'm thinking, I recognise those eyes anywhere, and it was Brian Little, stood on the platform. So and I said to him, I recognise you, and he had a claret tie on, so I mean that was a giveaway. And he said, "Hello, how are you? Who are you like?" God, that was a terrible accent. I'm really sorry.
What, is he from Newcastle? Is
it? Well, Brian Little is Durham, isn't he? He's County Durham. I'm going to have to Google that now. But yes, that was a very poor accent. I'm sorry, that's now been recorded for everyone to hear, and I'll probably hate that. I'm literally Googling where he's from now to make sure I don't throw him and call him like a You call a Geordie a Mackem or a Smoggy, you offend them, and you do anything else, they get, I'm not the Geordie. You get it wrong, you can cause a war. Where was he born? Let's have a look. Oh, it doesn't say. Right.
I've actually got that book.
It's a great book. Right. I think Darlington kind of way. So not a million miles away. So I reserve the rights, to do a sort of Geordie impression. But so I stood there chatting to him, for I think this is the measure of the man, now. This guy was booked. Brian was booked to come and do his book launch with us down in the home of the Hampshire Lions, which is Sarasbury Green Social Club, and got chatting to him. I said, "Oh, you're booked to come and see us on the Friday." Oh yeah, got chatting. Lovely guy. And this tubes, honestly, tubes are like normally be 30 or 40 seconds. They're mega quick and efficient. And this one took another 5 minutes. So I'm thinking, I'm stood on the platform chatting to Brian Little. I'm literally pinching myself. Now, I had my 16-year-old son with me at the time. Now, you've got to remember, 16-year-olds don't really know who iconic Villa players or managers are unless they've lived and breathed it, So after I had a conversation with Brian, I said, look forward to seeing you on Friday. Have a safe journey home. See you then. So my lad Morgan said, "Oh, Dad, who was that?" And I said, "That was Brian Little, Sir Brian." I call him Sir Brian. He's not, but in Villa folklore, he's like a bit like Paul McGrath, Lord McGrath. And I said, "That was Sir Brian Little." He's like, "Oh, who's that?" And I said, "Oh my God, you don't know who Brian Little is." So I proceeded to lecture my son for the entire journey back home about who Brian Little was. Anyway, fast forward to the Friday night, and I walked into. And bear in mind, we were still wearing masks, and he must have just seen the top of my little bald head and my eyes, and I saw his sort of his eyes. We get into the social club, and the first person I walk into, "Oh, hello, Brian, pleased to meet you. I'm Nick, pleased to meet you." He said, "Oh, hello, mate. You're my little friend off the tube station," and he remembered me. Now it's it was 2 days prior, but that meant the world to me. Absolutely, thinking, what a lovely guy. Now, probably didn't mean much to him, but to me, I was like, that's Brian Little, and he's remembered my name, and he said I'm his little friend, from the tube station. But you think of these things, and I love how accessible Villa is. As much as we're a global, world famous, one of the most successful clubs in England, and we've still got ex-managers and players that will go and do these things and speak to people, and they love it. And I asked the question on that night. We didn't film it, sadly, but I said to Brian, I said, I know you only as a manager. In my teenage years, the 90s, growing up, Brian Little's Clarence Blarney, I was singing on the terraces, you, John Gregory, Ron Atkinson, etc. I said, I'm ashamed to say I don't know you as a player because I'm only 40 years old. So you, to me, are Brian Little, the manager, not the player. And he was like, "Oh, okay. So no disrespect, but I just wasn't alive then, quite simply. I just didn't know him as a player." And but of course, my dad has told me about him, and him and Andy Gray and some of the absolute Villa legends that we'll get onto, how iconic they are. And I said, so for me, you're my manager, you're my absolute worldy manager. I'd love forever. I said, but what did you like more of being Villa? Your exposure to Villa, was it a player or as a manager? And I'm not kidding you. Within not even a heartbeat, he said manager instantly. He didn't. It's not. He didn't think about it. It was just there. So he said, when you stand at the Holt before a match, he said, I always used to go and walk around and look at the pitch. And he said that felt more special in charge of the club as opposed to being a player. Now, that's no disrespect to his playing career or his appearances, performances, etc. But that meant more as a manager. And I thought, wow, he must have thought, he's probably been asked that 1,000 times before, but I thought personally it was a great question by me. But absolutely brilliant, lovely guy. And I'd love to, I think maybe later in the year we'll have another sort of event for our Lions guys to meet him, for the people that couldn't quite get there. Very approachable. He would stay for days and talk to people. That's the sort of measure of the man where, he'd just chat to anybody about anything. So yeah, Brian Little, absolute legend.
And he walks on water.
He does, yeah. So again, one of our committee and our old chair said he started singing the chorus of Brian Little Walks on Water. Now again, I've never heard it because it was a player's song, when he was a player. So for me, my generation, I mean, as I say, I'm 40 years old, and it's Savo Milosevic, it's Dwight York songs, it's Tony Daly, it's my era sort of songs.
Don't worry, I'm in your
Yeah,
category, so
yeah.
don't
I
worry.
mean, of all the songs that I love at the moment, and of course, loads of swear words in it, we can't repeat it on here, but the Coutinho one is absolute genius. It's unique. It's not been, I don't think it's been copied from anybody else. I'm pretty sure it was a Villa fan that came up with it because obviously he had a very illustrious playing career at Liverpool. But I'd like to think that he likes that song. You know, if you get to translation, he understands it and he thinks, yeah, that's brilliant. The Any Buendia song is an absolute banger as well. The only thing I'm not a fan of, and I'll put my neck on the line here, is the final line where it's like, "So please don't take Miami away." It doesn't rhyme with anything. I know you don't have to rhyme in music to make it right, but it just doesn't seem like the correct end line. But also, I can't think of a better one, so I sing it reluctantly at the end. But generally,
But I think you've missed out, to be fair. If you as Ivan will tell you when he comes on in a
yeah.
bit, um, my Twitter account quite a while ago, I did some songs on here.
Mm.
So and
It's
songs I made up, like my own songs.
I genuinely
And
think I'm being biased, I suppose. I think Brummies and Midlanders, we've got a cracking sense of humour, you know, almost like self-deprecating, where we kind of, you know, laugh at ourselves. And you've got to have to do that in life, especially on the, you know, being a Villa fan. You've got to have a sense of humour, haven't you? And some of the things we come up with is absolutely hilarious. And then you'll go to like Chelsea away, and all there is Chelsea, 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 and that's it. And we've cracked out verses, choruses. We've got loads. I'm sure we're up there with, you know, I definitely think we're up there with when it comes to humour and sort of banter and like witty songs. I think we've got the best. I really do. But as I say, I'm not impartial because I'm Villa. But yeah, I think we're quite funny.
yeah, I'd agree. Um, did you want to speak? Was it is it next Friday your
Yes,
one with
yeah.
Peter Wick?
So we've got and this happened quite late because I'm not sure if people are aware. Peter Withe lives in Australia, so he doesn't exactly live around the corner. So we've kind of we've quite a coup to kind of get hold of Peter really, which is brilliant. Really happy. He's over here for the AV40 celebration. Um, and the AV40 celebration, I had a tour last year. You know, one of the tours that you can buy, a Villa Legends tour, which if some of the listeners haven't done it, I'd highly recommend it. I think it was something like 20 quid, best 20 quid I've ever spent. I'll put the picture up soon, and it's basically we had Dennis Mortimer and Tony Daly, and Dennis Mortimer gave us a tour of Villa Park. Now, admittedly, Villa Park's changed somewhat since Den was there. But it's still Villa Park, and you know we got led down the tunnel on our tour onto the onto the touchline to the fanfare music by Dennis Mortimer, you know, captain of the Villa European Cup winning team in '82. So that was like again hair standing up on the back of your neck sort of moment, really, and that was absolutely amazing. But one of Dennis's sort of the takeaway from that was he said, you know, AV40 is coming, and he has it, and I think he still wears it. He'll be wearing it this week. An AV40 celebration sort of t-shirt, AV40tribute.com, I think the website is. Anyway, brilliant little organisation. And it's about getting all the players together, really, and sort of celebrating it now. I think as much as it's an amazing achievement, I think potentially this could be the last time the club, you know, screams and shouts about it because, you know, 41's not a sexy number. 40 is, 45 is, and 50. But ultimately, let's say we celebrate it in 10 more years' time. I think we then nudge towards the sort of, my God, has it taken Villa 50 years to win that trophy again? You know, I mean, we've already got the sort of, not embarrassment, but the statistic that we've not won the FA Cup since 57. You know, we've gone close, we've gone to finals, we've not won it, etc. But that is a stat I'm not happy with. You know, it's not brilliant, you know, as a fan. I mean, you think of the finals we've had in the last 20 odd years, you know, it was FA Cup 2000, man, against Chelsea. We had Man United, then we had Arsenal, then we had City, you know, the season before, and that's 4 finals where we've come home with nothing. Now, I was saying to a friend of mine last night, imagine if we had those 4 trophies in the cabinet. We would then think we've got, you know, we're bearing fruit here, and we're winning something every few years, and we're not. We're failing at the last hurdle, really, which is so sad when you think about it. You know, can you imagine extra 4 honours on our list? Would be, you know, would be far more appreciated to more recent fans as opposed to living the '82 sort of bubble. And I do love the 82 celebration. It's amazing. It was such an achievement, really is. So as I say, we've got Peter Withe coming to an event next Friday, and we're going to be immersed in sort of 1982 culture. I was going to make it fancy dress, then 80s sort of clothes, but we've not done that. But we'll have 80s music playing, and we're going to kind of just get immersed in that, in what happened and how it happened. And we've got a Q&A with Peter, some raffles, some brilliant prizes, and we're supporting the Aston Villa Foundation and also the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, which is a charity that we've chosen as a club to support for the upcoming season. It's going to be a great night. And as I say, I don't actually think there'll be much of a celebration that we've seen at Villa Park and by the club officially for this 82 team anymore, because as I say, I think that the pendulum would swing towards saying, right guys, that's it, 40 years, but as a team to not then win that trophy again in 40, 45, 50 years, that becomes it's not the word embarrassing, but it's a stat that I wouldn't be comfortable with as an owner, thinking, my God, it's taken half a century to re-win that, when you've got the likes of Chelsea that have sadly won it twice in recent history.
But Man City's never won it. So.
Well, of course they haven't, and I gladly take umbrage, and I remind people about the little elite sort of unit of people that have won it, and you've got to remember Forest are in that group as well. Forest did it twice, and Forest's story is actually probably a bit more wild than ours because they had no right really winning it, and Clough came in and did what he did, 2 seasons on the bounce, and that's Hollywood movie sort of stuff, really. It's almost up there with, well, I'd say in the hierarchy of football achievements, it's better than Leicester winning the league, being relegation follow one season and winning the league the second. But Forest achieving the European Cup twice is absolutely what dreams are made of, and Forest can dine out on that for years, and rightly so. There's no shame in having your name on the highest accolade in Europe's trophy and saying, do you know what, we won that. I've got friends, oh yeah, but Villa won it years ago. I don't care. We've got a star on our badge. You haven't. Arsenal haven't. Tottenham haven't. Everton haven't. Other bigger clubs in stature and sort of fan base have not won that trophy. And that's a wonderful thing. And do you know what? They can't take it off us. So for us to sit there with the goal scorer next Friday, I think it's going to be quite emotional for a lot of people. And as I say, going back to my age, I'm 40, so I was a mere baby when this happened. But Peter Withe is my, dare I say it, Jack Grealish. Or me growing up with a Lee Hendry poster on my wall, a sort of somebody that's achieved something at Villa and means so much to somebody, and he's going to be sat in a room with the people that were either there or watched it or jumped around the garden in 1982 in their flares and sort of reveled in the success. So it's going to be quite an emotive night. I think we're really looking forward to it. For us, it's an absolute pleasure to put it on. We've invited all the neighbouring Lions groups. If anyone wants to travel down from Birmingham, they're welcome to. Wherever people are living, they're more than welcome. It's the commonality is we're all Villa fans. We want to sit in a room with Peter Withe, have a photo with the European Cup, have a few drinks, and reminisce, etc., and win some prizes and support a couple of brilliant charities. So that's our evening with an E, obviously, tongue in cheek, an evening with an Aston Villa icon, and the word legend is used a lot, I would say. So we chose the word icon because I think that's a bit more. Peter Withe is iconic, whichever way you look at it. Until we win that trophy again, he has scored the most important goal in Aston Villa's history, without question. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. So next Friday, May 27th. Which will be 40 years and 1 day after the actual event. So you cast your mind back 40, well, not cast your mind back, you're not old enough, but 40 years ago, they were probably drunk in a hotel, probably in their football kit still with the medals around their necks, and we've got them 40 years later. So one of the questions I'll be asking Peter about is, what sort of state were you 24 hours, 40 years ago? What were you like right now? Were you dressed? Were you still just kicking around in your shorts and a medal? Were you drunk? Were you celebrating? Were you bewildered? What emotions were you going through? So we're really looking forward to it. So again, anyone that's listening that lives near as damn it to Hampshire or wants to travel, you're more than welcome to. And the information's on our Hampshire Lions website, which is hampshirelions.co.uk.
And what was the time?
Well, it's 7 o'clock, but I'll probably be there blowing up balloons from about 5 o'clock. So you're more than welcome to come down early. But yeah, 7 o'clock till 11. We've got a function room, a private function room. And as I say, we've got a few events. We've got some cracking sponsors and sort of people supporting us. To rattle them off, we've got Luke. Everyone knows who Luke are. So Luke Roper's company, who are obviously diehard Villa. They've donated some brilliant prizes. We'll have some Peter Withe signed shirts, which will go for auction. Aston Villa Foundation have very kindly donated some signed merchandise from the current team as well. And again, the intention is to just get as many Villa people in the room as possible, have a great time, and raise some money for charity. And that's a cracking format, really. So there's food included as well. If you're a Lions member from neighbouring clubs, it's £20. If you're a non-member, it's £25. That includes food. The drinks prices are quite good. Not a massive drinker, but being a social club, you won't pay like £19.50 for a pint like you will in London. It's probably about £3 or £4 a pint, which is probably quite good, I'd imagine, nowadays. And it's kind of like an open-ended invitation, really, for anyone who wants to come and experience it. Because, as I say, I'm pretty sure after this round of, events, I don't think we'll be doing this again. Or Peter will be, because he lives in Australia, and it's not sad. I think it's just like progress. Thanks a lot, AV40. We loved it, we enjoyed it, but now onwards and upwards. Let's win that Champions League trophy and get our second star. That's how the club will possibly see the next event, really. So yeah, by all means, come down. You're more than welcome, everybody.
Are they able to have a picture with?
Yeah. So one of the sort of requirements, and very similar to Tony Morley, Gordon Cowans, who else? Dennis Mortimer. And Alan Evans went to an event recently, a brilliant event over in Cornwall, of all places, where, again, a friend of mine, Dave Wicks, who's the Cornish Lion, the Cornwall, keep saying Cornish, same thing technically, the Cornwall Lion. Yeah. Do you know what? They served pasties when we were there, actually. Nice little touch. They got a pasty company to sponsor it, which is brilliant. And went there and had a cracking night. And Tony said, this trophy, we all stick a £5 in the trophy, and that goes to, I forget his chosen charity, but that's basically what Peter will do. So, cash. We've got a debit card machine, so we can take donations. But you know what, a £5 to get your picture taken with the European Cup goal scorer Peter Withe is, I think, I'm going to stick my neck out here. I think it's probably once in a lifetime kind of stuff. Unless you live in Australia or you're going to stalk Peter Withe, you're never going to get the opportunity to do that. I don't think after this, after AV40, I think that'll be it. The celebrations on the pitch against Palace were absolutely unreal, and I had a lump in my throat, and I wasn't even there in '82. I was in nappies, so it meant a lot to me as like a fan. So Lord knows what it feels like for the people that were actually there or watching on TV. My dad's generation, 60s, 70s, and the people that lived and breathed Villa through thick and thin. Sometimes very thin, Division 3 days. I mean, it's just going to be brilliant. I'm absolutely buzzing for it. Cannot wait. I kind of wish it was Friday now, but if it was Friday, I would be not in the right place because I'm sat at home talking to you guys. So
we'll let you off.
Yeah. I've just checked as well. Brian Little was born in Newcastle, so I've redeemed myself. My little Geordie accent was correct.
So my next question is, who is your all-time favourite Aston Villa player?
So I could be really controversial and say our dear Jack, because I think regardless of how he left the club, he has probably been the greatest football player to play for Aston Villa, without question. I'm a grown man, and I'm not ashamed to admit I was quite upset when he left, and the manner that he went in, and it wasn't like he did the dirty like Harry Kane was. Harry Kane was trying to engineer a move away from Tottenham. We all know that he didn't turn up to training. It was all a bit embarrassing and blah blah blah. but it was just a bit. We knew it was happening, and one of our members went down to see him at the hotel on the Tuesday, and they was doing pictures. And somebody on one of the countless forums that we all follow, because we all follow them all, don't we? You know, loads of Villa ones, and this line will stick with me. And they said words to the effect of, "The minute Jack refused to lie to a child, that's when I knew he was gone." I don't know who it was, but I thank them for it out there in the Villa world, because there was a little kid saying, "Jack, are you staying? Are you staying?" And he didn't turn around and say, "No, mate, I'm all good. I'm, whatever." He didn't lie or deny it. He basically said, "Do you want a picture?" And he sort of changed the subject, but the way he did that, the person on looking was like, "He's gone." He's a professional. The fact he came up for pictures, and everyone that went down to that hotel in London, it's a beautiful place. I went the following day. Lovely sort of facilities. They knew, it was all about Jack. It wasn't about Villa having a kickabout in a place in London. It was all about what was happening with Jack, because Fabrizio Romano was making comments. He nearly did the whole "here we go" that day. But I actually had the afternoon off the following day on the Wednesday. And me and my son had an inset day. Very strange, having an inset day. So we jumped in the car, and we're not a million miles away from London here. Jumped in the car and drove down there with a couple of other members. And we sat out front of this hotel, and we saw Neil Cutler, and we saw a couple of Villa staff, and you see a sort of, "Oh, is that a Kappa top? Oh, who's that? Who's that?" And I'm not kidding you. We're literally peering through hedges trying to find out what was going on. And it was quite surreal, actually. And rumor has it, well, as it transpired, that Wednesday was the day that Jack left, and apparently he jumped in the back of a van and went up to Manchester. And that day was saying goodbye to the players, to the team, and that's where it all happened. So the hotel had basically locked itself down. All the gates that were open the previous days that you could go and chat to, walk around and speak to the players. And Dino was there, and everyone was doing the photos, all nice and smiley and very positive media. That had gone. It was like Fort Knox. Even the little service entrances where the laundry vans went in and out was like a big metal barrier, and that was there. So at that point, you think, well, how can Villa go from almost an open training session in a hotel where people can come and go as they please and get pictures? And there was plenty of pictures around. You don't have to look far. You'll see people on that Tuesday, loads of photos of Jack, and he's smiling, he's beaming. He's got his all his training gear, and he's being Jack the way Jack is. And then that Wednesday, it turned out that was the day that he stood up and wanted to say goodbye. And rumour has it, Mr. Purslow said, "You're an Aston Villa player till 6 p.m. So get yourself back out on the training pitch." And I don't know how true that rumour is, but Mr. Purslow is a very shrewd businessman, and quite rightly, he was a Villa employee till 6 p.m. You're not leaving early. You're going to train until we say so, and then you can go, mate. So I would have to say, as much as might get people's backs up, I think it's got to be Jack. It really has, because of what he's done, the way he dragged our team up from ultimately mid-table mediocrity in the Championship. That 10-game winning streak, those battered boots that he wore. That's why we're in the Premier League. There's no other question. No other player has had the ability to drag us up by the scruff of our necks. Very much, in a strange way, how when Steven Gerrard played in not average, but not that strong Liverpool teams, and that one player, that special player that changes games, that goes, right, we're winning this. We're going to literally grab you by the scruff of the neck and drag you all through this match, and I'll raise your game. And Jack Grealish did that for us. So, probably divides opinion, because it's still probably a little bit too raw, especially with Sunday impending right now. We've got a big game on Sunday, and he's going to be there. But I can't help but love the man and think thank you very much, and one day he'll be back. So yeah, the answer is Jack Grealish.
So a Jack Grealish own goal on Sunday is coming.
Well, yeah, it's gonna. Do you know what? I mean, I'm not going on Sunday. So we actually had one of the perks of being a Lions chairman. Going back to that, is we get the opportunity to play 90 minutes on the hallowed turf of Villa Park at the end of the season. So we did actually have a match planned for this Sunday, 9 o'clock kickoff. That would have been interesting. All the Lions chairmen, but unfortunately Villa had to cancel it due to it was fixture congestion. Ultimately, Villa sell various corporate days, understandably, to companies and sponsors, etc., to play on the Villa Park pitch. We had our day concreted in 22nd of May, and unfortunately, due to I think it was the Palace Chelsea, because of Palace getting further in the FA Cup, we had to it had to be cancelled. So a little bit sad about that game, but we'll get the chance, another opportunity, hopefully, or if not Villa Park, hopefully Bodymore or somewhere. And then that was it. So I was going to, do 90 minutes on Villa Park. I say 90 minutes. My fitness level, it could be 5 minutes, cardiac arrest, and then the rest from hospital in Birmingham. But it would have just been iconic. I mean, I'm sure everyone listening would love to even set foot on Villa Park. I don't mean in the pitch invasion sense, to get some boots and some shinnies on and go and just smash a goal into the whole end, basically, and just zip down the wing like Tony Daly and whip a ball in. I'd love to do that. I will die a happy man if I can do that. So that's one of the sort of perks we get as chairs, which is I think nice for the club to do that. So hopefully next season we get to do that, and of course we're allowed to invite our members of our Lions clubs, so they can come and watch me huff and puff just like all the other chairmen. And the standard of football wouldn't be brilliant. Bunch of balding middle-aged men, kicking the ball around for 90 minutes, probably rolling subs every 30 seconds. But I'm going to get fitter for next season, hopefully. So at the end of the season we can do it again. But it's one of those things where it's a perk and it's absolutely unreal. So not going to Man City because now I'm not playing that game. I don't think I can bring myself to go up to the Etihad, and watch him put a medal around his neck. As I say, iconic, but I don't know how the away fans would take that, and I'd hate to ruin, not to be a part of it, but to see him with a Premier League medal around his neck. We know it's coming, whether it's this season or next season. We know Jack Grealish will have potential European Cup under his belt, Premier League, other league, what he deserves, quite frankly. From his ability, his loyalty to us, etc. He deserves the world. I just don't think I want to see it live in front of me. You call me sentimental, but it would just feel wrong. But loads of emotions filled everybody when Jack left. I've seen everything from anger to sort of frustration to a lot of support. And I don't know if you're at the Man City game at home earlier in the season, but when Jack had the not initiative, but he said he was going to do a lap of honour at the end of the game, and I thought, oh my God, that's a red flag to a bull. Because the feeling of the Holt, the Holt speaks its mind, doesn't it? And the rest of the stadium follows. Really, I'd say the Holt is the sort of the raw emotion of Villa Park, whichever way you look at it. It speaks how it feels. And when we went left towards the north first, I think it was, and he went to the Man City fans and the Doug Ellis, and he sort of like took his shirt off, if I remember correctly. And I'm sat in like a sniper seat up a hole, I need binoculars sometimes, and cheaper seats there. That's me, cheap seats.
That's where all the chants start.
It is. It's literally me. No, I'm kidding. But it is up there. K1's where it's at.
I've sat up there a few times. Where you always get someone banging the back.
Oh, you do that metal. I'll tell you what. My son said to me the other day. He said, "Oh, how often do you think they replace that metal?" I thought, what, good shout. That's probably had an absolute beating over the years, hasn't it? That line. But Jack walked down towards the Man City players, and the Man City, the embedded ones have been there for a few seasons. Walked up and threw their shirts in. Jack hung back a little bit. And then he clapped to the Man City fans, and then he started walking down the Doug Ellis. And I thought, oh God! And I saw and felt so much. I say a lump in the back of my throat, a bit sort of. I thought it's like, I suppose it's in a weird way, seeing an ex-girlfriend for the first time after whatever happened. You think, oh my God, there they are. That's so and so. So he walked down the Doug Ellis, and I saw as many people cheering for him, as many people booing for him. And there's people sort of running down the concourse to either give him the V's and other hand gestures, but there was other people standing clapping. So I thought, oh my God. And I then thought, how am I going to react? Because everyone knew he was playing. Everyone knew he was going to at least be there and maybe not starting. And Pep bringing him on nullified the game, because of course at that point we were chanting, and even the players took their eye off the ball. I think we were pushing for a goal there. I think we're really, really playing well against them at that point, by the way. And they started singing "Villa Till I Die," and I thought, is that a dig? Because you can't say that to Jack Grealish. He's not Villa anymore. You pop down the Aston social, and there's pictures of him as a kid kicking around a ball in the back of the social with his dad. He is embedded in Villa, which it's like Steven Gerrard. You cut him in half, he'll have Liverpool FC inside him. Jack is claret and blue with Aston Villa. He is and will be, just because he's moonlighting and I like to think that we're lending him to Man City to win a couple of medals, and he'll come home. I think he had such big balls to do what he did, because as a young lad on his own, he's moved to Manchester. Okay, it's not the other side of the world, but he's moved house. He's got very very heavily embedded family. He's got a disabled sister. He's very close to his family, and that's a big thing to do. And then to walk down to the Holt, and then they started singing "Villa Till I Die" even more, and I stood up and clapped him. And then a couple of people started cheering. I don't know if you heard it. It was the "You're not super anymore." Now, I sang that, but it was more tongue in cheek, because I like to think Jack would understand.
You joined in, did you?
So I say I joined in. I did, yeah. Hand on heart, I joined in, but I was smiling, because I like to think he'd understand that we love him, but you're not super now. You've left us, mate. You're still Jack. You're still our Jack, but you're not super Jack until you come back. And that's what I saw. And then there was a Villa Till I Die, and that just rang around the whole of Villa Park. And you know what? He could have walked towards the Holt and gone, I ain't doing that, and could have got to the halfway line and thought, sod that, and turned back, but he didn't. He went closer and closer. But for him, I thought, think of the emotion involved in that. That has taken a lot for him to do that. And he was on his own, and all there was the Sky or BT, or I forget who televised it that game. It was just the outside broadcast camera, the camera guy behind him, and that was it. It was on his own down the Holt. But then he must have felt, well, I've got nothing to be scared of. I'm home. He's thought, I'm at home now. They might boo and cheer me, but this is my home. He's got as much right to go down the Holt, to get pelters, to get spat at, sworn at, screamed at, cried at, loved at. He's entitled to every emotion, and he wasn't scared. And I love that. I love the fact that he wasn't put off by it. He might tell you something different, but the outward projecting emotion was that he had no problem walking on the Holt end and saying thank you very much. And that, to me, again, shows the sort of measure of the man. He gets a lot of stick. You've only got to go on Villa forums, and we've come up with different names for him. We call him Joe because we can't bear to say the word Jack. It's like being afraid to mention, she who shall not be named if you've got an X or whatever. It's funny, but he means so much to so many people. And again, look at where we are, hand on heart. Without him, we wouldn't be talking about our season. We wouldn't be talking about our season in the Premier League. We would just be languishing, potentially struggling to get out of that difficult division, because the Championship is a very gritty league, as we found out. It took a couple of attempts to get out of it, didn't it, really? So yeah, Jack all the way. And Sunday might sting a little, guys. If they do it, it's going to hurt us. I'll be watching it on TV, but I won't be there to see it. And I just really, really hope that the away fans that do travel up, bless them, hope they travel safely, they understand why he left. And that is the pinnacle. That is the culmination of why he left. If he gets that medal around his neck, I love to think he'll go to the Villa fans and clap them. I really do. Do you know what? I'm even getting emotional thinking about it now. I can visualise it. I can literally see him walking there with a medal around his neck. And it's not about what Man City have given him. It's about how we've given that to him and allowed him to do it. And we've developed him and nurtured him. Because the biggest point is, as well, we've produced a £100 million player. We've produced Jack Grealish, nobody else. So that's a big thing. And Sunday might be a bit sort of, a bit emotional one way or another. And I've also got friends that say, they don't want to see him win. So sometimes,
a lot of people want Liverpool to win.
They do, and then you've got the Gerrard connection. But you know what? After last night's performance, I don't know if we can turn it on. But that would be so Villa, wouldn't it, for us to scrape a draw with Burnley? Tyrone's last ditch, defending. Backs to the wall.
That block was amazing.
Mate, tin hat on. Bodies against the ball, etc. Getting absolutely pelted by Burnley, who are fighting for their very very lives, really. And then we go to Man City and get a result. That would be Villa. But
we got Sorry, we got a couple of requests here, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let
Go for it.
Damo the Great come on first
Okay.
and let him say something
Go for it.
because he's been waiting a while.
Sorry,
so.
Damo. My apologies. I'm
No,
nearly midnight, guys. My apologies.
oh, it's not that late yet. Yeah, I'll just let him on. So, hello, Damo, the Great. Hello, Damo.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
That's good. Good. No, I was just talking about your all-time favourite Villa player, and we're talking about Jack Grealish and whatnot. And as much as he got us out of trouble, he was when he left. I mean, like we said, I think most Villa fans were just obviously gutted. But
Yes.
it was like seeing like your ultimate girlfriend.
It was, yeah. I still feel it.
It's like your ultimate girlfriend. She's beautiful. She's got everything you want. You think you're in the right place. You think you're going to be together forever, and she leaves you.
Yep.
And I'm never going to slag the lad off. I'll never ever slag him off. But I think we'd be in a slightly better place if he was still with us. Obviously.
Oh, definitely. The turmoil wouldn't be. Dino had a hell of a job to do to get us back on track.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I mean, you think of the Ings announcement. My God, I say I've got my ear to the ground. I know, like we all know people in the know within reason. But you listen to rumours. Did anyone know about Danny Ings? Because I heard nothing.
No, I don't think. I think anybody. No, I don't think anybody did.
So the Villa PR machine kicked that one out there, and I think that lessened the blow a little bit. It kind of diverted my attention from crying into my Jack Grealish shirt. I mean, I wasn't crying, but it kind of diverted everyone's attention for half an hour. Bloody hell, Danny Ings has signed for Villa. That's a good signing. Then it lessened the blow, but it only kind of delayed a bit of a reaction. Like, oh, I can't believe he's gone. But yeah, I mean, he's an iconic player. I think Jack will always be a player that is just going to be synonymous with Villa. I genuinely think the next club that he plays for will start in A and end in A, and it's Aston Villa. I genuinely think he'll come back to us, whether it's 5 years.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. He's, I suppose, like any other Villa fan, it's like you have more sort of love for these players when you know they're a fan, don't you?
Oh, as I say, go down the social. You'll see pictures of Jack on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, I've drank him there in the past. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's not even like you could fake something like that. He's heavily embedded in the club's fabric in the last 10 years or so. I mean, he could have gone a few times. I heard a story about. Do you remember the Tottenham game? I think it was Tottenham was sniffing round him, and I think Josh on the mall. Yeah. And he could have gone then, but I think his dad has heavily influenced him, and I think at one point, I don't think he was representing him. I don't know what the story was, but his dad said, "No, you can't leave this. You can't go now." Now we arguably had what do you reckon? 3 more seasons than we should have done with the man. So we were blessed for that. So I was trying to weigh up in my mind being a grown up and sort of, when he was going, I was like, do you know what? He wants more trophies, or sorry, not more actual trophies. Doesn't want just a championship one. I mean, I don't know if you remember, he cracked it on his eyebrow and split his eyebrows open.
He did,
that was quite amusing. I remember seeing that in slow motion. And he wants trophies, not in his face, and he wants trophies like to say, I've achieved this, because you put Jack in the same category as Harry Kane. Now, I don't feel sorry for Harry Kane because he's a multi-millionaire and he's a great club. But can you imagine being at the top of your game, big fish, in an average pond, but never actually getting a medal around your neck from that club? I think that would be an absolute travesty for Jack.
No, I totally understand that from a selfish Villa point of view. You hope he'd hang around and, with a chance of us trying to win a trophy.
Yeah, agreed. But no one's going to get excited and say, "Hey, I won the Division 2 Championship playoff trophy," because that's what it was. We can dress it up as a championship. We're like, it's the second tier English football. We came 5th or 6th, blagged it through a playoff final. Well, our goal was the playoff final. Brilliant, but it was a shoulder from El Ghazi and a bit of McGinn's body, wasn't it? It wasn't even like connected, brilliant goals. But my God, did we celebrate? But that wasn't iconic football. That wasn't the top tier. That wasn't the Premier League. It wasn't European Cup. Champions League. It was the Division 2 playoff. Which arguably, from our performances earlier in the season, we had no business coming 5th and 6th or whatever, and being in the fight. Being up there. And then again we got found out, didn't we? Our returning season, we realised the mountain we had to climb.
But you see him at Man City now, and we know how good he is. Jack,
of course.
We know he's special, but Man City's got a lot of special players.
Oh, he is now a big fish in a big pond. So with other big fish around, I think it's probably the best way.
He's not getting the stars. Excuse me. He's not getting the stars that he deserves because of the quality of the players around him.
Yeah, completely.
And I just think maybe another season at Man City. If I don't think he performs like Pep wants him to, maybe we'll look at moving on.
Well, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it as regards to the the money involved, but there was a similar story went round, and I've heard a rumor or so. Again, can't name names because for the love of me, just like I said earlier on, we all read these groups, don't we? And we've got 1,001 Villa sort of groups. I couldn't tell you which one it was, but basically we didn't get paid £100 million up front. I don't know how true that is, but it was all based on let's pick a number. Let's say 60 million up front in cash, or whatever it is, in bonds or whatever they pay in, and then the rest was on performance-based pay. So whether it's England call-ups or Champions Leagues or whatever. Now, if Jack warmed the bench, we may end up getting like 70 million quid for him. And that'll be a big travesty because the release clause was 100 million, but actually it's 100 million total for the whole package. Not like on the day of the races, we get 100 million pounds bank transferred. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't actually 100 million. The whole deal is totaled then. I don't think people understand the fact that it's installed payments. When Benteke went, and this is a bit more substance to it. This, I think, came out in the press. I could be wrong. Benteke, what was Benteke's fee in the end to Liverpool?
Was it 30 million, something like that?
30. So Liverpool paid something like 8 up front. Then it was like performance-based, then appearance-based, blah, blah. So the package, and this is where the media kind of, they say 30 million transfer. Well, actually, it's like a Mars bar, a Mars bar this week plus 3 million. 5 more games, you get this. And it's all staged. Like, I suppose any business, I don't know if big business transfer 30 million quid overnight, but they all have these sort of like performance-based elements that make the whole package worth the total amount. But from what I heard, we didn't get the full amount for Benteke because he didn't bloody play. So for us, we let Benteke go. For, our star striker, what was it? Something like 49 goals and 100 and whatever it was games. In effect, one in three. It worked out as. We let him go for nowhere near what the actual reported amount was, and that goes back to the previous owners, where we had, as much as we don't like Snaky Delph anymore. Snaky Delph had a very, very poor amount, fiscal amount in his release clause. Was it 8 million to Man City?
Something like that, I think.
It was a pittance, wasn't it? We lost our captain, our absolute, and whichever way we look at him, his actions when he left finally were very poor, and that's why disgraceful. To kiss the badge one day on AVTV and then boom the next day in a taxi at the Empty Had or wherever it was, So, but he was our captain, and he was leading us, and he left for that. And I think, who the hell at Villa has allowed that to go into the contract? And one thing I'll say about Mr. Purslow is he's probably learned from his years in the business, but my God, is he a switched on businessman? Look at what we got for Jack. Now, allegedly, Jack had asked for that clause, but I'm pretty sure Villa would have put that in. I'd like to think Villa said, no, mate, triple figures or not at all.
I think I was just about to say to you, the likes of Delph with the 8 million release clause, if that's what it is, you've got to blame the people higher up.
Of course. Oh, yeah. That's not him.
And they've agreed that to be put into his contract.
Oh, definitely. Maybe at the time they undervalued him. But you know what? If they're my players, I'd look at again. Mike Ashley got slated. You won't ever find a Geordie with a breath in the body that likes Mike Ashley, right? No. That is a given, right? Now, obviously he's gone and the Saudis are in there now, but Mike Ashley was it a 6-year deal for Sam Maximin?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Now, who does that? Nobody. But because he does sign a 6-year deal, we all pretty much know that Sam Maximin will go somewhere. But what that clause has done is made sure that Newcastle get a damn good payday.
Yeah, they get a good transfer fee for him.
Exactly, and that's exactly what Purslo's done. And you know, we'll never know the ins and outs of contract wrangling, but you know, we've now got this generation of players. Every time I see a new contract be signed or we've announced so and so players doing so and so, I think don't worry about it, because we've got some switched on cookies at Villa now that won't allow them to go for a Mars bar and a bag of chips at the end of the month. You know, like we did with Delph and Benteke.
I wasn't aware what you said then regarding the transfer fee being based on performances.
Yeah,
I know a lot of clubs, obviously, you know, if a player goes for 100 million, it might be 50 million pound up front and then 10 million pound a season or whatever. But I didn't realise it was based on appearances.
So if you ever read, and this is where I've it might have been Doug's book actually. Doug wrote a couple of books, didn't they? But there was a book about I'm sure it was Doug Ellis' book, and it was worse the effect of, you know, we were promised this amount first, and it broke down the sort of average player deals you get. Then then you're talking, because actually the player's got nothing to do with the transfer fee. Sometimes you get a sign-on fee that can be added in, but nowadays it's all agents, and we all agree that agents are the scourge of the game, aren't they? You know, I don't think you'll ever talk nicely with an agent. I think any of us will, but and Doug Ellis said something like, you know, it was this amount, and then if he played a certain amount of games, we would get this. So there's things like, you know, performance indicators, England call up, international call up, performances, league winners medals, blah 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 blah. And I think the wording is the total package worth up to 100 million, and that's where we were with Jack. But you know, if he doesn't play for all of these games, it makes you think, when Pep brings him on for 4 minutes here and 10 minutes there, are they being a bit cheeky and getting a big discount? By not doing that deliberately. You know, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky, but I look at, like I say, it was like me. It was my girlfriend who was being taken up on my best friend.
Yeah,
if you like, and it was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
We know it's going to happen because of our situation, and you know, Man City comes calling. You know, the money's going to talk, and you know, trophies is going to move on. But you just hope that loyalty. But
the word loyalty, right? That people say there's no loyalty in football. There is loyalty. I'll tell you why. We had more seasons than we deserved with Jack Grealish. There's loyalty for you. He got to the point where he thought, I could spend my entire career here and be a legend, but possibly not win anything, or I can go elsewhere. And I think he's protected his legacy at Villa. I really do. He didn't leave badly. He didn't leave like Harry. I mean, Harry Kane, Lord knows what's going on with him. He's begrudgingly playing for Tottenham right now, and by pure chance, they've worked hard. They're in the Champions League positions as it stands. But Harry Kane, you know, you've got your star striker on the payroll, probably the top earner, and the club know he doesn't want to be there. We never had that with Jack. We never had that. He bled for the club. You know, Harry Kane isn't, as far as I'm aware, from North. Oh, he might be from North London, but you know, the fact he's wanted away and wanted to go elsewhere says to me he's not anything like our Jack. You know,
he's an Arsenal fan, isn't he? Allegedly.
Well, there you go. You know, so loyalty. You know, we go into it. There are loyal players out there. I think the likes of Pookie as well at Norwich. Why the hell is Pookie still at Norwich? Surely people have knocked on the door because he scores. Well, he did score goals for fun, but you can turn around and say, actually, that's very loyal. You know, Troy Deeney for Watford. You know, as much as he's a dirty blue nose, what a loyal person to Watford he was until it got to the point where he was a bit off the pace and he said, you know, I'm not really Premier League, etc. I'm going to finish my career off at my club at Blues. Can't begrudge the man for that. You know, I mean, Blues are luckily for comedy value, they're in free fall, aren't they? You know, they only just about scraped survival this season. If it weren't for Derby getting those points deducted, they'd be in a world of trouble, wouldn't they?
Of course.
But you know, Deeney's a modern loyal player. Harry Kane, I'd say there was glimpses of it, but then he's undone himself. Jack was loyal. You know, look at West Ham. Look at Noble the other day. His entire career, pretty much, bled for the club. Again, not a fan of West Ham, but not. I'm kind of impartial to them. I call them the kit stealers, like a lot of them do. You know, they're the counterfeit claret and blue. but you can't fault that loyalty. So, but I do remember, was it who was commentating on the West Ham game the other day? They said, sadly, you probably won't see more players like that, and they're probably right. You won't see career-long players playing for one club for all their career. I think that's a dying breed.
Well, there's a lot of talk about what's the name, isn't there, going slightly off about the Villa about Declan Rice.
Well, again, had they won that final, I think he'd have signed on the dotted line and maybe permitted his future there. But he is in the same position as Jack was. What do you do?
Well, I didn't realise because he's not a West. He's a Chelsea boy, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. So but again, Chelsea wouldn't be a safe bet right now, would it?
No,
they're in turmoil. We're not quite sure where they're going to be with owners because, again, what we've got to find out now, and I think the league have got to be very switched on, especially with the way the government are. The fit and proper test. What we can't have is, another linked Russian oligarch in charge of Chelsea. So Chelsea's not a safe bet. No. Man United's not a safe bet because they're still just coming out this turmoil. Man United's new manager, he's not proven in the Premier League. Just because he's a big name elsewhere doesn't mean he's going to do what Clifty Klopp's done or anybody else that's come across. So there's two big hitters there that you'd probably not want to go near, like Declan Rice. Any advisor near him would go, steer clear of Man United. Just because it's the iconic Manchester United, steer the hell away from them. Chelsea, they could be sanctioned, they could be sold off, they could be broken up, they could be in a conglomerate. Now, for me, for a club like that, when you hear the word conglomerate, you think, oh my God, is this a bunch of people having a whip round, millionaires saying, oh, I'll put this in, I'll put my house in, you put your shoes business in and we'll buy Chelsea? I mean, the Chelsea saga could drag on and they could be a non-entity by next season, which wouldn't bother me because Chelsea weren't really, until they won the lottery with Abramovich, they weren't that much of a team, were they? They bit like Man City, they won the lottery and they've bought everything. But I'm not bitter. That's the way it was. But now financial fair play rules should kind of not allow that. And I think, you go back to Newcastle. Newcastle can bang on all they like about being the richest club in the world, but they're owned by a country, which is a bit naughty. I don't think that's allowed, but that's been allowed to go ahead with appalling human rights records. Very controversial. Now, by the letter of the law, if we're sanctioning, people that are close to Putin, surely be sanctioning Saudi Arabian ownership. So Newcastle can bang on about that. Financial fair play will not allow them to go and pay 300 million for Mbappe or Messi or whoever is flavour of the month. They won't allow. They won't allow it to happen.
No.
So Newcastle can't ride that wave anymore. They've got to actually work hard at it. And there's loads of memes about Newcastle where they've gone, oh great, you're the richest club in the world, and you've signed Matt Target and you've signed Dan Burn. That's not Messi. That's not Messi, and that's not Mbappe.
No, not at all.
So that remains to be seen. But we're in the same boat. If you want to talk money, we've got owners that are billionaires, personal billionaires, not just in assets. They've got cash in the bank, etc. But you don't see us like making it rain with £5 notes over at Villa Park and gifts left, right, and centre. They're doing it the right way. But Bodymore is second to none. We've got the new North Stand announcement, which is we've needed it for years. Let's be honest. The North Stand has been a sort of like it's been the elephant in the room, hasn't it? It's the oldest stand. It's outdated. It's not fit for purpose and looks a bit ugly, really, doesn't it? Compared to the rest of Villa Park. But now we've announced that and the sort of all the complex behind there. We're going places, and that's the right ownership as opposed to flash in the pan, throw a few $100 million and see what happens.
I'm just hoping that Gerrard gets the backing, which we think he will do, for 3 or 4 players that can be basically thrown into the first team to improve us.
You tell me, Damo, who do you think? And same, it goes for you, everyone else listening. Who's got their foot out the door? Who's got one foot out the door already? Because I've got a little list in my head. Who do you think?
For the Villa?
Yeah.
Well, we know Trezeguet's gone. Troy is going to be going.
Yep.
We obviously know Target's going.
Yep.
I did, until he had his injury, I was concerned Konza was on his way out.
Yes.
A lot of talk about Watkins, but I don't know. I worry about McGinn. But I think I don't know. What's your thoughts then?
I think McGinn is likely to be a legend at Villa. You know,
You think so?
Man United have come sniffing, and they're not the club to go to right now. So he wouldn't go to Chelsea again in turmoil. Wouldn't go to Arsenal. He's got no links to it. Think of how well we've treated McGinn. And that's where the Lord. I mean, again, McGinn arguably probably could have gone that season. We stayed up by a Nats wing. McGinn could have gone. I'd like to have thought there'd be offers coming for him. So I think he'll stay. I think Dougie has got one foot out the door.
Yeah.
I struggle with Dougie. He'll have a good game, an average game, and I always hear I love the opinions. Like we've got forums, we've got our chat groups.
Playing in the wrong position.
Yeah, and you know what? I've played football at a very low level, like we all probably have. But if you're told to do a job, you do the job. If you can do it, and you don't stand still, you still bleed for it, and you still go for it. Dougie always looks flat-footed. He will misplace a pass and stand and waste the 3 or 4 or 5 seconds stamping the ground, muttering something, and then he'll react. And you're like, well, even Sunday League players would get a rocket up the backsides if they stood there whinging and kicking the ground or whatever. Get back in. Go win the ball back.
Is that the South American sort of attitude at times?
Well, it is. But look at who else is South American in our team that doesn't.
I know what you're saying.
So we could turn around and say, well, that's a Brazilian thing. But actually, we've got Argentinians, we've got other nations there from South America. They haven't got that mentality. Juan Pablo Angel, Colombian, right?
Yeah.
What a mentality. Bled for the shirt, earned it. We'll have icon status for as long as I've got a breath in my body. Lovely bloke. And he was from there. And his work ethic was different. Dougie almost wants it on a plate or to be perfect, and that almost sexy FIFA football that everyone loves. But if you can't do the basics right, I don't care about your step overs and your back heels and your little Brazilian beach tricks. If you can't do the basics and you can't track back and you can't defend, then why in the shirt? But another argument is trying to be devil's advocate. Is I hear this week in, week out. We don't have all the information. We don't see what Gerrard sees because Dougie gets picked for one reason or another. He starts most games. So is he working his nuts off in training at Bodymore? They've got the GPS vest data, all the sports science, his nutrition. Is he an absolute specimen of a player at Bodymore? But then when it comes to Villa Park, he's not so much. What is it about him? Because I don't agree with the fact that it could be he's playing out of position, because when he has played in their position, he still sometimes, you think, bloody hell, mate, you're huffing and puffing. Why aren't you tracking back? It's things like that with him, with me.
I'm a big lover of John McGinn. I know he's got a bit of sort of bad publicity from the Villa fans and whatnot, but I think we all remember. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I think we all remember that midfielder we picked up from Hibernian,
of course,
back in the 70s, and he just
exactly.
It just reminds me of that type of character. Gets stuck in, heart on his sleeve,
Blades
goes. And Desi Bremner to me was an unsung hero.
So you get that sort of player. So what's McGinn got? What have we had out of him? 5 seasons, maybe 5 seasons.
Four, something like that. Yeah, around about 4. I think
that's maybe a crossroads now. Him and Jack were best mates. They were like thick as thieves on holiday together. They were brilliant. So that would have, that would have cut him. And I remember Jack said a couple of things, and it was all for PR, but I think it might have hurt the Villa a lot. And that's why I think on Sunday we could do something potentially. I don't know where the effort's going to come from, but they might have a fire in their bellies about kind of proving him wrong. Because I think Jack said, when you start a phrase with all due respect, when you say that, it means you're about to insult somebody, doesn't it? That's kind of the precursor.
Yeah.
And Jack said something like, with all due respect, when you're playing with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, and I'm thinking that isn't up yours to John. As much as his mates, that is like, defecating on your own doorstep. You don't, he's in effect throwing them under the bus and gone, okay.
Keep your mouth shut.
So not a lot of decorum, but sometimes Jack said things that have got him in trouble. I get that, but I think maybe they could put one on him. So I don't think John McGinn's going to go anywhere. I don't think there's any club that he'd be interested in that's not Villa. It's certainly not about money. He's settled. He loves the Midlands. He's settled down, etc. Anything else have to be next level. But I don't know who'd come in for him. I don't think Arsenal would. Chelsea, you wouldn't even look at right now because of the state they're in. Man United could take 5-10 years to get back to their Ferguson sort of glory days. They've not replaced Alex Ferguson. We all know that. Moyes didn't have enough time, and it was a bit of a mess. Mourinho was all about him, and everyone since has been a nightmare at United. So let's write Man United off. So at that point, would John McGinn go to Man City? No, because he'd have the same scenario that's happened to Jack. And I think all the lads at Villa have kind of had not a kick up the backside, but an awakening moment where they've watched Jack go and think, "Oh my God, he's going to do brilliantly." And they've said, "Actually, he's not playing the way he played for us." Pep Guardiola thought he'd rewrite the rule book and trying to make Jack Grealish not do Jack Grealish things, and it's not worked, has it? Not beating his man or going sideways and going back and being a bit more defensive. I don't think you'd turn around and say Jack's had a good season. Unless he scores, 5 goals on Sunday against us and kisses the Man City badge, you turn around and say that Jack Grealish has had a bang average season for a player.
Yeah. Going back to McGinn, they're saying Conte fancy him at Tottenham, don't they?
But again, Tottenham, Spursy. Yes, it's Champions League football, but is it consistent? If you're John McGinn, you want to go to a club that is consistently in the Champions League draw. So Liverpool, he could be a Liverpool player. You never know. Liverpool could come in for McGinn. But when you look at what Liverpool have got right now, would McGinn walk into a Liverpool side? No. He'd walk into the Liverpool bench potentially to be a cup player or to wean himself into the big team. But I don't think he's a Liverpool player. I don't think he's a City player. I don't think he's certainly not Chelsea. So that just leaves the Arsenal, the Tottenhams, and the other mid-table sort of teams. And at that point, you go, is anyone else that I can go to right now better than Aston Villa Football Club or what they've done for me and how I live my life in Birmingham or whatever? And the answer would be no. I genuinely think McGinn wouldn't go for that reason.
Could you not see him replacing Henderson at Liverpool then?
Potentially. He's a utilitarian. Milner is like timeless. Milner's got to retire one day, hasn't he? So the likes of Hendo and James Milner have got to go one day. So yeah, potentially. But it's whether Clippity Klopp rates him or not. And let's be honest, John's not had brilliant games all season. He's not been that. He's been great, but not consistent. Some games have gone bloody hell. He's had a quiet game, and it's not because he's not been involved. It's because he hunches his shoulders and shields the ball, and he'd rather sometimes go down and take a foul. And the referees go, "I ain't buying that. It's just a strong challenge." At that point, he's on the floor whinging, looking up at the referee. At this point, someone's they've broken off, and then they've got a chance. And McGinn's done that quite a few times. So to get that out of his game, he needs to go to a bigger club. He's got to choose when to pick and choose your battles for that particular little sort of movement, because you can kind of read what John McGinn's going to do. He telegraphs what he's about to do. He hunches his shoulders, uses his sort of stocky, body shape and protects the ball. However, one or two things are going to happen. He's going to shield it, lay it off, and we'll all clap and go, "Oh, that's brilliant, Guinea. Well done, meatball." Or he's going to get fouled, get the free kick, or he'll just not win anything and then we lose the ball. And that's what he's got to get rid of that for his game. But I do think he's developed. His physique's changed. He's lost a little bit of weight. He looks more muscular. Whereas I think he's even made jokes about the size of his backside. He's put a bit of weight on. But with all the performance specialists at Bodymore now, we should have an elite bunch of athletes, because that's what you need to be.
Of course, at Premier League level, you have to be the ultimate athlete.
Look at Gabby. Gabby was all. This is when sports science really started to come in. I think Gabby was told to bulk. Do you remember Gabby was told to bulk up?
Yes, he was. Yeah,
because he was getting bossed off the ball,
but he lost a bit of his pace.
And that's the trade-off, isn't it? You had a bit of weight, you're going to lose a bit of pace. But that was Gabby's USP. That was his unique part, where he was, greased weasel poo. He was fast as anything. But then he lost that, and then they think, well, actually, what's he now got? And then, of course, he went the other way and put too much weight on. I remember a time when he was told that he couldn't play because he was 2 stone overweight. So he couldn't win, bless him. I mean, McGinn, I think he'll stay. I do think Dougie will go. That the fringe players, I don't feel so sorry for them. When you think of the grand scheme of life, there's wars going on right now. But the likes of Morgan Sanson, I won't be upset if I don't see him in a Villa shirt again. Traore, so much promise, undelivered. Leon, I haven't even mentioned Leon Bailey tonight because I don't think we need to, because I think he's been an absolute waste of money for me.
Do you think Santon's been given a fair crack of the whip though? I know he's had a few injuries,
but where'd you draw the line? I mean, these lads haven't just gone, "Boo, you're a football player." They've been playing for years. They know how to string a few performances together, and they haven't.
But the season before we signed him, he was due to go to Arsenal for 30 million, picked up an injury, and they pulled out. Next season, we've signed him for whatever it is, 12, 15 million.
And it was good. It was good business at the time. They said we were going to buy him next year. What was the verse at Pers? I think Mr. Perslow said something like, "We bought this forward. We wanted to buy him in another window, but we bought it forward now." So we didn't buy him on crutches. I don't think, did we? He wasn't crocked. So, but we do have a knack, and I think it's maybe a very Villa thing, that we take players that are doing very well in their respective leagues, and they come to Villa,
and they don't perform,
and they don't. So what is it? Have we got is there a curse? Is there some sort of?
I don't know. I know what you're saying. I feel the same.
Because look at Stan Collymore. Stan Collymore, prolific, came to Villa. His actual home boy club. He was the biggest underachiever at Villa for me. If you turn around and said, "Who's your biggest underachiever?" Collymore all day long. It should have been a fairy tale, and it wasn't. It was poor. It was bang average, and you're like, "Oh God!" I was really excited about that.
Do you remember Sasa Churchich?
I met Sasa Churchich.
I mean, when he was at Bolton, I thought, what a player!
Yeah.
We signed him. I thought he's going to make a difference to our midfield.
Of course.
And it all went Pete Tongue.
Of course it did. So think of all our little French stars and our Adama Traore, and we've got who else showed promise? Jordan Ayew. Remember the Ayew's? We had a bunch of damn good French
from the French League.
One.
From the French League, yeah.
Yeah, but again, is League is that the same parameters as the Premier League? No, it's not. So Bayern Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, they did, Leon Bailey. You watch a Leon Bailey reel, I was like, oh my God, this guy's on fire.
Exactly, yeah.
However, had I seen him playing for the likes of Brentford in the Premier League or whatever and see the reel, I'll go, right, he can cut that in the Premier League. But the German, the Bundesliga is not the same. And then that's where we maybe fall foul of it. So when Gerrard looks to British players, and we all know there's a sort of British tax, isn't there? Unless we do very good business like McGinn up in Scotland, we're going to have to pay, less for a Spanish player and a bit of a gamble. But I think it can prove it works. Buendia, I think, is now coming on song. I mean, he's a cracking little player, works his absolute backside off, isn't the biggest player in the world, sometimes gets bullied off the ball more than I'd like, but he bleeds for the shirt. Well loved, respected. From what if you look at the social media sort of stuff that he does, he loves Villa.
I love it as well, yeah.
There's some very quiet players at Villa, the likes of Sanson. You can tell when a player is not happy. I mean, for example, one thing that bugged the hell out of me about Dougie Luiz was like, we'd lose, and then you get the likes of Ollie Watkins and people on the core players at Villa that say almost like, we go again, thanks for your support, blah blah blah. Yeah. We'll work hard next time. And then Douglas Luiz is doing a TikTok, and or he's out. And I mean, when Leon Bailey was injured, and this is maybe morals and the way maybe I've been brought up, and I wouldn't say got into debates, but I've had people say, if he's injured, he can do what he wants. Well, yes, he can. But to me, if it was my club, I'd like to think that if you're injured, you've got a mandatory attendance to watch the team. As long as you're not in a hospital bed, obviously, you've got mandatory to go to a director's box and watch it. I remember when Jack was either suspended or we had shin splints, and he was sat there watching the Villa in his Gucci jacket from the director's box. We've had players that will support the team in a suit in the seats versus the ones that bugger off to Disneyland or go out on the smash in London. Leon Bailey, the day he was injured for 3 months, was out in London at a birthday party. Now again, you'll get people that will divide and say, well, he can do what he wants. What do you do out of hours at work? I said, well, you know what? If I was injured in my job and I couldn't go to work, I certainly wouldn't be out on it for fear of someone seeing me going, oh yeah, bad leg, is it, mate? Because I think it's credibility. And the likes of Leon Bailey, for me, aren't credible. I think he was using Villa as a stepping stone. If he set the league on fire, brilliant. Puts himself in the shop window for a Champions League team or gets us up there. It's not worked for him. I don't see where his next move is now. Because what do we pay for him? 30, 40 million?
Yeah.
Who is going to take a gamble on a bit part player that is made of sugar that literally, glass ankle. I mean, what's the phrase? Made of sugar, glass ankle sort of thing. He gets one touch. You think, what is it? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months? That's how I feel about Leon Bailey.
But didn't he? Is his stepfather's his agent or his manager or something?
How unprofessional was his unveiling? It was in Jamaica via a webcam. Right, I don't know if you remember it. I don't know if anyone else.
Yeah. I remember
it. Was like
clearly.
I was thinking, have Villa got anything to do with this at all? Is this official? And it was like Leon Bailey coming soon, and it was like back of a fag packet, webcam in a room.
That's right, yeah.
And that was it. And I think, you know what? Is that the sort of player we want? And here's a first-hand story for you. A couple of weeks back, we had a Lions chair meeting at Villa. I forget which game it was, and I had to get up there for midday as opposed to 3. So obviously it's a 3-hour drive from where I live. So I left early. I get there, and I've not watched the players come into Villa Park for years because I'm a grown man. I've been there, done it. I don't need to get things signed. And I stood there and saw a bunch of kids there, and everyone getting balls signed. I thought, I'll get some pictures. In fact, my picture on Twitter is me and Danny Ings. And I walked around the other side of the car park where you could just buy the actual driving entrance. I thought, there's no one over there. Maybe I could get there sooner. So I walked around, and a couple of my mates were there getting things signed. And it was something like, I want to say 11:49, right? I looked at my watch, and everyone was in. There's no, you could tell all the players were in. That was it. It was full of Lamborghinis and Audis. You know what the car park's like.
Yeah.
And I heard this like a roar. Turn round. I think it was a Lamborghini, blacked out Lamborghini Urus, right? Absolute, fire breathing Lamborghini. And he nearly wipes out the security guard. I didn't see who it was because it just shot into the car park. So he's gone for the entire North Stand car park, across the players' entrance, blah, blah, there. Gone in there, whacked the handbrake on, got out the car, grabbed their wash bag, as they all do, with their flip-flops and their, and their expensive Gucci shower gel. And he's legged it in. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, I reckon they've got to be in by 12 o'clock. And all of the players have been there for half an hour already. And that was the measure of the man. Last player in the door.
Minute.
Now, who's to say, devil's advocate, what if he was in an accident? What if there was traffic? What if he just left it? What if he left his wash bag at home to go back? There's all sorts of common sense reasons for why he was nearly late. However, I just think that is his sort of demeanour from his sort of whether you could say it's
arrogance.
Yeah, potentially arrogance, and that goes back to his unveiling. I say I speak firsthand. I'm in the Navy, and I've spent 11 months in the Caribbean. So Caribbean culture, it's laid back because that's the sort of vibe, and that's how it is. But I think he brings that to his actual game and professionalism, and that's not good. That is not what you want at a club where you've got lads that are bleeding to get into the team from the under-23s and reserves. That's not a good example. He's walked into a team when arguably he shouldn't have done. I mean, Leon Bailey's video clips when he leaves, because I think he will leave, will be that Everton game. I can't think of anything else he's really done apart from coming on, smashing 2 goals, and then going off cropped.
Can I just interrupt a second?
Yeah.
Did you see when he was with Prince William?
Oh, in the Caribbean, yeah. And it wasn't where it did. I'd love to think that because Prince William, I've served with Prince William on board the Iron Duke back in 2007. So Prince William, he was called Sub-Lieutenant Wales at the time. So he was in the Caribbean. And little story about Prince William is he was so when he's on a warship, obviously he's quite secure. But when he goes ashore, have the Royal Protection Squad with him. So what Prince William would do, this is quite common knowledge in the Navy, he would give the Royal Protection Squad the sort of slip, peg himself out to go ashore, and he'd be down the bars in the Caribbean bars drinking with all the normal sailors like me. Lovely chap. I've met him a couple of times for like military sort of things and whatever. But he bleeds Villa. He absolutely bleeds Villa, and he's not the sort of person you'd look at and go, "You're a Villa fan." And it's not a forced allegiance like some celebrity. Sometimes you get celebrity fans like, "Oh yeah, I support Villa," and they couldn't name a starting 11 ever. Do you know what I mean? So, being honorary president of the FA, I think Wells is. He's up there with the FA, isn't he? He's like a president or whatever rank he's got for that. But I would have thought that Bailey would have stood there and chatted about the Villa and whatever, and I don't think he did. It was all about the Jamaican football, and I get that's his national thing, but I thought he was quite relaxed and quite almost.
He looked like
he
was. One bit where he's just sat on the bench with his arms folded, like he's having a paddy or something. I don't know.
However, going back to modern royals, and this is going off topic a little bit, but my experience of Prince William is I've sat down in the mess and had a cup of tea with Prince William, and he is like me and you, just well spoken. You know, he just speaks, you know, absolute spot on Queen's English sort of thing, BBC English. But he is, I wouldn't say he's one of the lads, but he certainly can speak at all levels. So he's not like an older, you know, older royal that would demand you stand to us, not to attention, but, you know, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full. So I wouldn't have thought he'd be offended that Leon Bailey sat down. But I looked at that and thought, my God, that is just the body language coming across alone is a bit sort of insulting. Not that, you know, whether you believe in the monarchy or not, you know, but even if I just met you for the day and you sat down and you're not making eye contact, you can tell by the holistics of somebody if they're not interested. He just didn't look like he was engaging. And I thought that's a cracking opportunity. You're a Villa player. He's a Villa fan. Unless he doesn't know that. I mean, again, devil's advocate, what if Leon Bailey doesn't know that Prince William's a Villa fan? He may not. But if he did know that, you'd like to think he'd be all over him like a rash and be chatting Villa. Look at John. I mean, you know John Carew? We all know what John Carew... Think of the videos, the iconic times that John Carew and Wills have been screaming their heads off at Wembley or Villa Park, embracing watching the Villa. That is the sort of thing that a passionate player, an ex-player, you know, would be like with Wills. And I just think Leon Bailey was just a bit sort of, wasn't really fussed. But then again, culturally, the Jamaicans don't like the Royals because they want to get, you know, independence, etc. And that part of the Caribbean, I think they may even had independence from the sovereign, but they all don't want to have anything to do with the Commonwealth anymore. That's generally how the Caribbean's going, and we know that from the recent tour. So that's another thing as well. Leon Bailey also, being devil's advocate, could be torn to say, look, I like Prince William. I know he's a Villa fan, but I can't be seen to the people of Jamaica, me representing the national team, as a pro-royal. So there's also that argument as well that people may not think of immediately, but it just does, like you say, Damo, come across as comes across as lazy and rude.
But is this thing with him as well? I've read when he signed for us. I read something saying that his stepdad, or if it was who's his agent manager, I said earlier, basically insinuated we were a stepping stone for him.
Oh, well, again, as I say, I think that is exactly what we are. But now it's not really worked out that well, has it? You know. So where do you go? Let's look at Wesley. I mean, I joke about it all the time, but only Aston Villa would sign a striker with one leg longer than the other. You know, that is a scientific medical fact. And, you know, bless him, he's done well in his respective other clubs, Wesley. But I think he's a donkey. I think he's a Bosco Ballot. You know, I genuinely think he's up there with one of the worst signings ever made. Now, we can put a shine on it and go, oh, yeah, it's not quite worked out for you. But the only reason Villa don't throw him under the bus publicly is because we need some money for him. You know, we might not get a lot for him. Might be another Mars bar. You know, it might be a sort of favour and a 50 quid a week and whatever. But we have made some poor signings in recent history, and you know, under Dean Smith. Not Gerrard. Gerrard. I mean, who's Gerrard got? Dean and Coutinho on his is that right? That's probably right, isn't it? Two.
Yeah, that's it. And that Olsen as well.
Also the keeper, yeah.
Chambers was a
Chambers, brilliant signing, I think.
Yeah, me too. So you look at what on paper right now today, what Steven Gerrard signed, is it quality? Resounding yes from me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, definitely.
So that says to me that moving forward, you know, a law of averages. I mean, my God, Sir Alex Ferguson, old whiskey nose himself, signed Eric Jemba, right? So, you know, every genius has an off day, right? So we get that not every signing will be brilliant, but I would say Gerrard and his scouts and his network and all his contacts and all his years of being a player, a winning player, he knows what to look for. And the attraction of having, and I love Dean Smith for what he did for us, but you don't get players like Coutinho with Dean Smith from Solihull. You know, you get it from Steven Gerrard. You go to any African village, you go to any small unknown country in the world and talk football, you could rattle off Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney, a handful of English names, sorry, and they wouldn't know who Dean Smith was. They wouldn't have a clue. You know, and I respect Dean completely. So that's not a disrespectful, but Gerrard is next level.
Do you think some of these signings out Smithy took on were forced upon him?
With Dino, you mean, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, potentially. I mean, look at our recruitment. So we had Suso, all that. It's great in a business to go, do you know what? We'll subcontract that. We call it in the military an SME, a subject matter expert. Don't worry about that, Dean. We will get an SME on transfers. We'll get an SME on football science or whatever. And that's what they sort of subbed it off to Suso. And Dean's gone, yeah, I'll trust you. You're a professional. Yeah, it's fine, mate. I'll crack on my coaching. You bring these people in. And I genuinely think, yeah, potentially, now you've said it, a handful might have been like, yeah, mate, a bit like Moneyball. Have you seen the Moneyball? Is it Moneyball, the film with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Where they have a baseball team, look at all the stats and blah, 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 and the sports science, go, right, these people statistically will give you, the whole expected goals and blah, 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 chances created malarkey, which is a modern thing, isn't it? And I think maybe we had a bit of that mentality at Villa in recent years with Smith, before Smith. I'd certainly think was it the Remy Gard year with all the French players that came in?
Yeah.
I think that was a bit Moneyball-esque, where it was like, right, statistically they're good, they can do this, that, and the other. Expected tackles, win rates, pass rates, yada yada yada. All those stats, I think they were bought by a director of football or whatever, instead of Dean Smith going watching non-league football, going to a championship game of a week, because you don't see that much anymore, do you? Occasionally you'll see a manager go, oh, Gareth Southgate's in the house tonight. Well, we know why, because he's the England manager. You used to see managers elsewhere doing their own direct scouting. Now, we know that the bigger clubs they sub it out to talent teams, etc. But I do think, the likes of Bailey and Wesley, absolute, a wet firework. Nothing's going to happen. It's never going to happen. Get rid. But we are going to lose money, quite simply. That's the sad thing.
A lot of money.
Well, it's almost probably triple figures for the players. What was Wesley? 30?
20 odd. 20.
Bailey 30, 40.
Yeah.
Potentially we could tot up £100 million worth of poor players that have pulled the shirt on and are no good to us, and we will probably get a token amount of money for them. That's transfer money. That's not even looking at what the wages have cost. When some of them on triple figure, 100 grand a week or whatever our wage structure is, the max amount. Let's say they're on 75 grand a week, just because they get taxed off of it pretty much, doesn't mean Villa aren't paying it out. It's a taxman that takes the tax. We are paying out a lot, X amount of £1 million a year in wages. And that phrase of stealing a living, I think I put the likes of Wesley in that group, Bailey,
Mickey Richards.
So loads of controversy. I don't know if you remember seeing it, guys, but Michael Richards had a very public spat on Twitter. And I wasn't on Twitter, but I think I'd looked at it at the time, and it was about Keith Wyness. And Michael Richards did a sort of clear the air talk because someone wrote an article about him in maybe the Birmingham Mail or whatever. Where's the effect of, you didn't work hard enough? And he came out and said, let's have it right, Keith. And this was public. And the minute you make something public, is it libel and slander? You're basically legally in a world of trouble. If what you say is not true and can be proven, then you can go to court for it. So Michael Richards came out and said, actually, Keith, do you not remember me knocking on your door week in, week out, begging to go out on loan, begging to play in the 23s, blah, 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 blah. And Keith Weiner said basically nothing. And he said, Keith, you're a liar. Worst effective, you are a liar. I did that. Ask anybody. So Michael Richards, his knees, I think it was his knees that were gone, or his hip? Knees.
Knee, I think.
Yeah, knee. So we knew we were going to a bit like, was it Ledley King at Tottenham when they wheeled him out and, you get a game out of him, then he'd go back off for 6 weeks and whatever. Michael Richards, we knew we were going to get him piecemeal, a game here, a game there, but the experience would have been worthy for the lads to come up through the ranks. And he allegedly begged for it. And Keith Weiner said, no, you're not going anywhere. We don't want to get a rubbish fee for you. We want a fee. And I think he wanted to go on a free. I think Michael Richards, you'll have to check this, even volunteered to be, he said, I'll tear my contract up. So I'm unemployed, but it's got to be mutual consent. And Villa refused to. So Villa shot themselves in the foot. The player that wanted to go, it wasn't working out. And we're still paying 55, 60 grand a week for Michael Richards. So I think actually the mismanagement of some players doesn't help either. But I wouldn't ever put the likes of Bailey and Wesley in that mismanagement. The injury was horrific for Wesley. I mean, some people don't walk again after what he had done. And that is, that's a testament to sports science, the surgeons and all the Bodymore lot. But But ultimately, I don't think Wesley was that good a player before his injury. We'll never know now. We don't have a time machine and we can't stop the injury happening. So he's a write-off. Bailey's a write-off. The likes of Trezeguet will always, I think, be welcome back at Villa Park because of his efforts and, efforts getting us where we are. Trez, back post, screamers, the goals he scored, the likes of Conor Hourihane, they're brilliant people, bleed for the club, professional on the pitch, professional off the pitch, but they're now not the level we need. And that's a difficult conversation to have as a manager, but that's why Gerrard gets paid what he gets paid, to say, thank you very much, thanks for your service, but there's the door. That is football. You sit and chat to any ex-footballer, there comes a time where they're not needed by the club anymore, and they may have kissed the badge, they may have named their child after the club, they may have done, they may be heavily embedded in it, but there comes a time they've got to leave. And I think we've got some difficult conversations to have with potentially the likes of Dougie. Connor, I think Connor's contract's gone now, isn't it? I think end of the season, that's it. Yeah. So he will probably do a thanks to the Villa tweet, etc. We've got other players out that I wouldn't miss. El Ghazi, again, not the right level. And before he went to Everton, I wouldn't give him a training shirt, let alone a starting match shirt. But think of what he did for us. So again, he'll always be welcome back at Villa, and his legacy at Villa will be what he did for us in the Champion, getting us up and whatever. But he's not a Premier League player. No way. Just ask Everton. He's not. We kind of got found out with him. So we're going to get rid of some fringe players. Ings and Watkins, love them. Lovely people. Work hard. No controversy off the pitch. Work their plums off. I don't think it's working though, is it? So, would you chance get 20 million for Danny Ings? Because Danny Ings seemed to score for fun at Southampton, certainly against us, it seemed, or did well against us. But I don't know where we're going with these two.
Do you want Suarez?
Say again?
Do you want Suarez?
So again, someone mentioned this. It's like Liverpool were getting the old band back together. Coutinho is still a banging player. Suarez to come into Villa, what is he, 36, 37?
36.
So a bit like Ronaldo. Ronaldo is, 36, but with the body of a 26-year-old and the physique and the work rate of a 26-year-old. If Suarez is still half the player he was before he left to go abroad, then I'd rip their hands off. However, we then get to the point where, as a club, we've got these not journeymen, because Suarez isn't a journeyman. He hasn't gone club to club to club to club to club. He's gone from good club to good club to good club. He's not just been a payday sort of merchant going for big money and then not performing. I would say that every club Suarez has been at, he's been brilliant. Unless there's something I've forgotten about, he has been a cracking player. So to have him back here, as long as he's not coming for a payday, then I'd rip his hands off. But it can backfire.
He might rip yours off with his teeth.
Well, yeah. I mean, so remember how he left England? It wasn't nice, was it? He was hated for what he did. Now people have got long memories, unfortunately. So he might be a controversial figure to have. But if he brings you 20 goals, that cliche, he's a 20 goal a season. If he's a 20 goal a season player, then I'll rip your hands off, because that's 20 goals that maybe the likes of Ings and Watkins aren't scoring. I mean, I don't know about you, but this season it seems like so frustrating that we've had balls fizz across the box and no one's there. No natural striker, just like right place, right time. Now, right place, right time is not luck; it's about working hard. And I'm not saying in any shape or form that Ollie and Danny Ings don't work hard, but they never seem to be in the right place, and other strikers do. I see other teams doing it. Brentford strikers, and you look at Ivan Toney and some absolutely amazing strikers in the league. And they're scoring for fun. And we've got these players that on paper are brilliant, but they don't seem to perform. So whether it's the system, and you could turn around and say, oh, well, confidence, put the ball in the onion bag. You've been doing it since you were 10 years old. You've not forgotten what a goal is. You know where it is. Get in the right place to do it. It's, we can dumb it down. That's what being a striker is. But ours aren't really firing on all cylinders. So do we cut our losses and go, right, Danny Ings, you served your purpose. You scored that banging overhead kick. XYZ, thanks but no thanks, and then we go in for a Suarez who's a little older, or do we take the chance on the likes of all the lads that are coming through? So that's a dilemma that Gerrard's got for the next season. Proven strikers from big money, or do we go with youth and build? So
what do you make of Carney? Do you think we should keep him or?
So again, I've got I wouldn't say a theory, but so look at today. I think we spoke about this earlier on, mate. So Mark Delaney's left Villa now, hasn't he? And I think from what it looks like, the statement is that it's a thank you very much. It's time to move on. I don't know if he's been offered another job, but he's leaving. So Mr. Perslow made a statement about maybe 18 months ago, whenever it was. Again, words like, if you've got 23-year-old players in an academy, your academy's not working, or something like that, right? So, and he's right, because if you've got lads that have been there for 5-6 years, why the hell have they not broken into the first team? Why have they not been loaned out and then made it in a championship club or whatever? It says that the academy, let's be honest, yes, you've got like the FA Premier League 2 and etc., etc. The primary function of academy is produce players for your primary team, your main team. You know, no one will have a career for 20 years in a reserve team. That's wrong. That's the function of a reserve team, is about reserves, under 23s, honing talent and getting it right. Louis Barry. How long have we been talking about Louis Barry for? 2-3 seasons? Greatest thing since sliced bread, Barcelona, West Brom, blah, blah. Louis Barry has gone on loan. I think potentially we may never see him in a Villa shirt. I don't know if he's going to actually make it to Villa. You know, have we bigged them up too much to actually realise that he's not actually what we need? Carney showed promise here and there when Dino broke him in. Is he the right level? The contract talk certainly doesn't help. You know, because if you're a young player thinking, oh my God, I'm going to play for Aston Villa, you'd rip their hands off your first professional contract for the first team. You know, your big first, well, not your first, but your first big one, sorry. And he hasn't signed it, if rumours to believe. So what does he want? Does he think he's better than he is? And if he does, are we saying that our coaching team don't see what we see? Is he too big for his boots? Because every time he plays, there's promise, but he's not setting the world on fire. So then you've got to think, well, maybe our people know more about this than he does, or his agents. So the likes of Carney, I wouldn't say I wouldn't be upset if he didn't leave, but I certainly wouldn't go, oh God, we've lost the greatest player ever. You know, I don't think he's at that level yet. Or is Louis Barry? There's things that our training teams see that we don't, quite simply. Whether it's being late to training, whether it's attitude, whether it's holistics, whether it's, you know, body language, whatever it is that these lads are doing that's not getting into the first team, it's happening. And it happens at every club. You've got 30 or 40 youth players, maybe 2 or 3 will make it. That's the law of averages. You look at the squad of 92 with Beckham and Scholes and Butt and Giggs, they just had a higher average in that particular school of lads that got through, that broke through and made history. We may get one more Jack Grealish in 50 years, you know, but all these players that are showing promise, they are just that. It's promise. It's not actual great performances. And I don't think I've seen a great performance yet from Carney. I really haven't.
To be fair, they're only both the players you've mentioned. They're both only 18. So
yeah, but again, so I'll say 2 words to you. Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
You know, every sort of, again, and the devil's advocate, you can turn around and see players that have done well at a young age, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, if you know where the onion bag is and you can stick the ball in the back of it, you're doing well. So again, the youth setup with Delaney going, I don't know if potentially Mr. Perslow has. I'll suggest this, that maybe he's not seen the output that he wants with these players breaking in, or the standards, and they've let Mark Delaney go, or Mark Delaney may have personal problems, or he might just have another job offer. We don't know yet. But for him to leave a youth setup after X amount of years as a player and X amount of years as a coach, that's quite interesting, and also worrying at the same time. You know, I think Michael Beale's left Villa as well.
Going to Charlton.
Yeah, so if he's got a job offer, brilliant. That happens, doesn't it? You know, but if he hasn't, you think, why the hell's he left? So things that have baffled me a little bit, and again, I've not heard anything rumour-wise. You guys might have done. When John Terry left just before Dino went, now that was a strange disappearance, because we all think, okay, if John Terry's got a job offer, brilliant. You've done your understudy job. You're sorcerer's apprentice. You've got your first big gig. off you go. Thanks a lot, JT. Thanks for the memories. Well done. But he hasn't, because I follow the bloke on Instagram and he's at Wentworth playing golf every bloody day. He's not actually got a gig apart from, I think it was Chelsea youth team manager.
Yeah, under 18s, wasn't it?
But all, yeah. So all that's kind of now an under 18 team at Chelsea. Yes, it's Chelsea, but it's not a 7-day a week job. I would have thought. I really would have thought it would be that. I could be wrong, but grassroots wise, that's my level. Grassroots football. I don't know if he's like absolutely doing that. From the amount of golf he plays, I would say that John Terry is not living and breathing football right now. So
Nanny McPhee still got a job.
So Nanny McPhee, I've called him that as well, mate. I mean, he's Bjarnason number 2. He's Bjarnason's understudy, isn't he? That Scandinavian look. But so on paper, I remember some people like, "Oh God, Villa got set piece coach. What do you need that for?" Well, I think again, there's some stats out there that prove how many goals were scored from set pieces. I don't think it's that flattering, but it's more than other teams. So you could then argue, well, it's better to have one than to not have one. But then some of the set pieces, I mean, a couple of corners last night, and you think, my God, I could have 30.
When was the last time we scored a free kick?
Probably Connor. I'd imagine Connor.
Yeah, exactly. And how many corners do we put in and nothing happens?
So it's like beating the man at the nearest post. Sometimes we put them in for dwarfs. No disrespect to people that are dwarfs, but if you
I'm a dwarf.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Yesterday was shocking.
It was, and I remember one of our members on our forums, and I love opinion. I never in our group. I try, I always comment because I want people to feel valued. But when people say, somebody said, was it my group or another one of the groups about the atmosphere in Villa Park a couple of weeks back, Palace or it was, no, not Palace because that was AV4. So and I was like, well, the problem is, it's very difficult to blindly sing and cheer when you're angry at the team. It's like being in a bad mood and saying, please smile, please smile, please smile. It's very difficult to do. And I've been in the upper hole, and you feel the owns and groans and anxiety when someone puts a misplaced pass in, or Tyrone, bless him, clears it into row double Z, and you think, Ty, you just had to control it and pass it to someone. Do you know what I mean? He's gone for the hardest thing versus the easiest thing, and that then impacts on people's moods. I, at that point, don't want to start singing Whole Tenders in the Sky because I'm angry that they can't do something what I would perceive as simple as a five-a-side player now. That's my level at 40 years old. I just kick, five-a-side every Tuesday night. I just don't understand why it's not. You can't turn it on and on and on. Alcohol is no longer a massive factor in football anymore. I don't see crowds and crowds of drunk people at Villa Park anymore. Once upon a time, you'd go there, everyone was in the bar. There's a great, and let's be honest, when people are drunk, they sing more. They let their inhibitions go. They're kind of, we're going to sing like that. It's rare now. So I think that also has a little factor and impact on it, where we get to the point where we don't go to sing. I've also witnessed, I don't know about you guys, I've witnessed a lot more tourist fans. So the seats next to me, people resell occasionally because they travel from far away, as is their prerogative, which is fully acceptable. I missed one home game this season. I've done the same. I couldn't make it. And I've literally had, so last night there was a lad from, I don't know, somewhere in Africa, streaming the entire match as a selfie, shouting Villa, Villa. That was it. Never seen him before in my life. And he left in like the 50th minute. I'm like, he's bought his ticket, he's seen Villa, got his Insta photos, and he's left again. And I see that week in, week out in the upper Holt, believe it or not, for resale tickets. It happens. So when you say about atmosphere, sometimes if let's say you've got a couple of thousand people that are the singers or the people that aren't going, you're losing it, a lot of it to the mobile phone brigade, unfortunately. It happens. We had a Japanese lad sat next to me a few weeks back, and he streamed the entire game. And in the Liverpool game, I had a Scouser next to me. I say he's a Scouser. He didn't say a word. I said hello to him. He said hello, and I thought, right. And he was dressed in neutral colours, and it was a resale seat behind me. And I know other people near me in my season tickets. We say hello to each other, and always have a chat. And I thought, you're a Scouser, mate. You're clearly a Brummie Scouser, and that was it. Liverpool scored second goal, and then he walked out. So he'd seen what he needed to see and walked out. So you also get that with the atmosphere as well. I don't know how many people that happens to, but if you amplify that, let's say it's 3,000 resale people that aren't actually Villa fans in the ground, it has an effect on people. I mean, I get frustrated when I see people sit there filming a match. Is your camera angle from the upper Holt better than Match of the Day? No. Is it 4K? Probably, but not brilliantly. It's not going to be a better experience for the commentator, etc., etc. So that frustrates me. But the ability for the atmosphere to just turn it off and turn it on when we're playing very poor football, not very poor, I'll say poor. It's not championship relegation sort of form. We're not talking, the going down season, but it's very difficult to change your attitude in any walk of life. You can have the worst day on earth, and come on, mate, smile for me. You're not going to all of a sudden go, "Oh, I'll be really happy for you." It doesn't work like that. That's not how emotions work. And Villa Park is a living. I think it sounds daft. It's a living, breathing thing. It's emotive of what's going on the pitch. I don't know if you agree. You may not agree, but that's what I feel about it.
I didn't know if Damo was going to answer that question.
Sorry, you broke up a bit there. Sorry, can you repeat that?
What, the whole 7 minutes?
Well, not the whole 7 minutes, but what was you saying then? Sorry.
So, in a one-liner, Villa Park is emotive, and you can't always turn off and turn on your you're singing when you're angry. What's going on the pitch?
It does get frustrating, but I try to back the team as much as I can.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, you do get frustrated, and I honestly have never been one of these who boom off at half time or whatever.
No, me neither.
Because it's you don't be putting negative thoughts into the players' minds.
No,
I mean, if you're going in 1-0 down, 2-0 down, surely these boys need to know they're being backed coming out in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, at the final whistle, when we've played badly, I still stand up and clap. Because they're still putting a show on. I don't think we've got people that are late. Look at our relegation season. We haven't got lazy players that go, "My God, how have you got that shirt on your back?" I don't feel. I've not felt that. I felt you could have played better. Dougie, Danny Ings, you could have buried that. Ollie, you could have crossed that. Kashi, what were you thinking? Little things like that doesn't stop my love for the fact that they do bleed for it. I do think we've got a good bunch of lads.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just. I just personally can't boo.
No. I can boo former players. I can boo bad players, but not.
I mean, my dad back in the day was a Villa youth player, so I'm Villa through and through.
Yeah.
So I can't. Villa's my team. I've got tattoos, and they're my boys. Of course. I can't just sort of like boo them, because as frustrated as you get, and as peed off as you are. After you've been beat, the next morning you wake up and right, let's go again.
Of course. I mean, so my attitude. So I'm in a weird way. I think some of us Lions lot that live far away, we travel, and I've got 3 hours of my thoughts to gather before I either make a post or then comment about it. Where sometimes locals be on the bus or going, "Oh, bloody hell, he was rubbish tonight," etc., etc. I kind of sit in my thoughts and I listen to Talk Sport. And, once upon a time in my youth, I'd probably fly off the handle with a knee-jerk reaction, like, "Oh, he's rubbish. You shouldn't play for Villa again." But actually, being a bit more, I suppose, being a bit older and wiser, I'd go, "Do you know what? He's come back from an injury. He's not had the greatest time. He's had COVID. All the little things. Think, you know what? Put yourself in his position. He's not going to be a world beater today, is he? But he's tried, and that's the sort of logic. It's just that I just don't like the excuse culture. There's a fine line between understanding and the fact that there's a sort of, well, you didn't run. I can't stand watching players flat-footed ball watching, and that goes to grassroots level, and that's what gets me. And we've got a lad. I'm not going to say my seat number on my row, but there's a guy about 3 rows in front of me, and he never sits down, which I love. And he's so passionate, and I think he's got a really bad job. Whatever he does for a living, I think he comes to the Villa to let out, or he hates his wife, probably. I don't know.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, he's got a cat. He's probably kicked it 1,000 times. It's probably been, probably been protected by the Cats Protection League or something. But he literally screams and he F's and Jeffs, and we all stand and look at him and think, "Do you know what, mate? You're living your best life. You're coming here and you're saying what you feel." But also, he'll stand and clap. And when they come down, when they play good, bad, indifferent, he'll stand and applaud. But he is an absolute gem. And I've renewed my seat in the same place because I like where I sit and I like the characters around me. Not all of, some of the tourists I don't like, but, we've got players like that. It's just very subjective, isn't it? As I say, going back to the Jack sort of reaction, I cheered, joined in with a tongue-in-cheek chant. But other than that, can't fault the guy. And fair play for coming down the hot end. Other people stood next to me and booed. And
no. I mean, I think it's just... It's like I said earlier, it's just a frustrating thing because you expect him to be there wearing Claret Blue the whole of his career.
Yeah, it's a romantic thought, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course it is. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But can I go quickly back to Carney?
Yes.
Is it Chukwuemeka? You pronounce it? I'm never... disappointed last night. He was given his chance. Disappointed.
Again, and that's the thing, isn't it? So you think about it. You look at Traore, you look at Bailey and all these players and Carney. When Gerrard's playing them, again, we don't know the management pitch or the conversations he's having with Mr. Lang and all Ms. Purslow about all the recruitment. How do we know that Gerrard's not been told by people above him? Because, Gerrard's got a hierarchy above him. He is not a Ron Saunders. He's not a Cloughie. He's not writing the checks for Villa. He is a servant.
No.
He could be told, we need to get 10 minutes for Traore on to put in the shop window. He needs a good 10 minutes so that, because we've heard that Arsenal are sniffing around him. I do think the likes of Traore and these players that come on, you think, my God, how are you getting 5 minutes here and there, mate? It's to whack them in the shop window so that they can show. It's like showing a horse off at a horse show. You've got to show it can bloody gallop, haven't you? You've literally got to be able to show that it's not a lame horse and it can do something.
Yeah, you got to put him in the shop window.
And that's it. So I genuinely think if Carney doesn't sign his contract, one or two things, or a couple of options, he'll go off and be the greatest footballer in the world and we'll rue the day we never forced him. But on the other hand, we have offered him a contract and he's not signed it, as rumour has it. So does he want more money? Is it greed? Is it because he thinks he's worth more than he is? And then you go back to the fact that no player is bigger than Aston Villa Football Club, as we all very much know. So thanks a lot, Carney. Thanks for your time. See you later.
But watching him last night, I just thought...
I thought it was poor as well. Very, very poor.
It was just like, you've got your chance here now. You've got the big stage at Villa Park. Go and grab it with both hands and put a performance in. And he didn't.
He didn't at all. He again, maybe it's believing their own hype. Louis Barry believes his own hype. He's now... And you'll get people say, oh, yeah, but look at Louis Barry. He scored... Is Ipswich, isn't it, I think, Louis Barry?
No, Swindon, sorry.
Who's Ipswich? Was he at Ipswich?
He was at Ipswich and never played him, so he moved to Swindon.
That was it. So he's done that. But look at the level of opposition. I'm not saying in any shape or form it's a poor league, but it's certainly not Premier League.
No.
And same as Archer. You can be, again, they're medium-sized fish in a small pond. So of course they're going to shine. And it's great for their confidence to score goals and set them up. But stick them back in a starting 11 pre-season and they can't challenge for, a pre-season game, then what do you do with it? You go, right, what's not happening here? Are you just a championship player? Because that's Gerrard, I think, he's not there to make friends. Whereas Dean Smith,
no, at all. No, he's not going to ruin his reputation.
Of course not. So Dean Smith, bless him, was Villa through and through, had the club in his heart and his blood, and he potentially maybe was. Again, this is pure what I think. Maybe he wasn't ready to have difficult conversations. I from what I understand, Jack ruled the roost. There was lads that went to training, and I think there was. I don't know if there's a finding process. Fines in process of being late, but I heard a rumor about training not being till midday. I'm thinking that's a bit chilled out, isn't it? What are these lads doing, sort of thing. Whether it's true, whether it's like an agreement, I don't know. But I would have thought it'd be like 9 o'clock in the morning. You work, you train, blah blah blah. You go with physio, you go home. That's it. Not turn up at midday in your flip flops and have a kick around.
No, not at all.
So I don't know whether there's truth in that, but Gerrard is again, he ain't there to make friends. He's there to have difficult conversations. He's already made difficult decisions. Where, did you see the comment about him saying, "I may need to bring in a new captain"?
Yeah.
How blatant is that to Tyrone Mings? So and again, Tyrone Mings is a controversial figure because I think he's worthy of his place, but at the same time, I don't think he's worthy of the captaincy anymore. I think he spends too much time I mean, people whinge about his chewing gum. Some people chew gum to focus, whatever. I'm not going to get into that debate. That's irrelevant. But he does spend a lot of time worrying about what other players are doing. Now, you could say that's leadership, but, first and foremost, you've got to get your own house in order before you start telling people to, do what they've got to do. He struggles sometimes with the absolute basics, but then he'll have a blinder and do a block like he did last night that'll keep us in the game. So for me, love the guy, I love his journey. I love the whole way that when he came back on loan to us, and I mean, I don't live far from Bournemouth, so I don't know if you guys remember when he turned up to Bournemouth train station, leathered the following day from when in his Villa kit with his medal around his neck still. He's a Villa legend for that. But I think if he goes, he'll go without a blessing. But he might not be the right player to go. The right player to take us on. So yeah, that's where we are. So Carney, if he signs, he signs. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I won't get too upset about him.
So the other one, a friend of mine's a Stoke season ticket holder, and he talks about is it Philogene Bidis?
Yes.
Bidis. And he just said he's supposed to be the next biggest thing for us, wasn't he?
Again, how many next biggest things we had?
Yeah, exactly. And he just said, sometimes he shows a bit, sometimes he goes missing.
Yes, yeah. So we could be in that sort of same space, couldn't we? With, rattle them off: Barry, Bidais, Carney, the other chucker maker as well, who apparently has got a bit of an attitude problem as well. His brother, who's not very well liked.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. It could be brilliant. It could be nothing. So but remains to be seen, isn't it? Next season, interesting. All eyes on next season.
It looks like he's disconnected, I think. Yeah, I think he's gone. They moved on, I think.
Well, we've chatted for just over 2 hours. So
yeah,
it's been great, and we've kept some people listening. We've done one or two things. We've either we've sent people to sleep, and they're still online by the grace of God, or they've actually enjoyed it, or they're going to slate us for it. So I've enjoyed it. Remains to be seen if it's been liked or not. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on.
No problem.
You brought up a lot of good things and a lot of good points, and so thank you.
No problem, mate. It's been a pleasure. We'll do it again soon, mate.
Yeah, sure. Well, good night, and I'll see you later.
Speak soon, mate. Take care.
All right. Thanks to everyone who listened. I hope you liked it.